plaintiff, Linda Jake Storball, has worked for the U.S. Postal Service for 26 years, and she became friends with the defendant through her job. However, Linda's suing because she loaned the defendant some money, and she has yet to be repaid. Defendant Lakeisha Miller says after she borrowed money from Linda, she invited Linda and her daughter to a prom she was throwing for her daughter. However, Linda and her guests broke out in a fight and destroyed the prom venue, so she refuses to repay.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
I've been employed for the U.S. Postal Service for 26 years. I'm a single parent.
When you plan on retiring? 26?
At least another 4 years. I have one daughter who just started her first year at SIU, and the other one has 2 years in high school.
But you're going to stay at the post office
Yes,
for
sir.
more? Make it, that'll be 30 years?
Yes,
awesome.
yes, sir.
All my buddies back home are clapping because that's what I was asking. You get a good pension. 30 years?
The post office doesn't have the best of pensions.
No?
No, sir.
They pay well.
Yes, sir.
All right.
She's just saying that because the guys are watching right now.
That's right. Yeah. You don't want them to try to come to you. You don't want them to be motivated by your pension. You want them to want you for you. That's right. Any men that are watching.
Anyway.
That has nothing to do with nothing. That has nothing to do with nothing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
Yes.
I run a real tight script, and I don't like it when people play with my money. Lakeisha has been working, I would say maybe anywhere from 7 to 10 years at the same station that I was with. Lakeisha and I had like a big sister, little sister relationship. This $2,600 is not the first time that Lakeisha has borrowed money from me. Our relationship went as far as I've picked her kids up from babysitter, from the daycare, and sat in the car until she finished the route. And at this point, I just feel like Lakeisha has no interest in paying me.
In the past, you say you all have exchanged loans.
Yeah, she's borrowed money in the past. And we've never had a problem where even if she didn't have my money when she said, I'll have it on this day, it was a text to say, Linda, I don't have your money, and I'll have it this day.
How much were they in the past, the loans? Typically?
There are loans that have
Anything
been...
over $1,000?
No.
Okay, that's the big difference here. Okay, let me allow her to give some background before we get into the specifics.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How you doing, Judge?
Fine.
Linda is correct. I've been at this station. I've been working for the post office 24 years. Also, I'm just kind of still surprised at the fact that Linda is here suing me. That a situation happened that I did a prom night for my daughter that I actually let Linda and her daughter come into. She asked, can she come into a prom night? I was doing a prom night for my daughter.
That's not correct.
She asked
You did something special by letting her come? I thought this is your long-term friend.
So it wasn't, okay, so
Go
the
ahead.
incident was, I was doing a prom night for my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And Linda, after the fact of the borrowing the money, Linda called me a couple of days later, and she asked me, can her daughter come in as of the prom night? So I told her yes. So I'm gonna say a couple of days later, her daughter friend wanted to come in too. So fast forward towards the prom night, it wasn't going well. I'm just say that it wasn't going well. Within 30 to 40 minutes within the prom, a fight occurred between Linda party and the other girl party.
That's not correct.
Linda party and the other girl party.
That's not correct.
Destroyed the place. When I say destroyed, they broke chairs, tables. They was throwing chairs at tables. They messed up the DJ equipment. The sweet table that I had up there, everything was just destroyed.
Okay, and what did you learn it started from? Where did it come from?
Okay, Linda explained to me 3 days prior before the event that her daughter and her friend had got into it. And when her daughter and her friend got into it...
With each other?
With each other. So when Linda told me that, at that time, everything was already set. I was calling Linda to let her know that everything was set.
Let me stop you though.
Go ahead.
Those same two
The same two.
that had gotten into it.
They got into it 3 days before the
She
prom
said,
event.
can they come to your prom together?
She asked that a week, I'm gonna say 2 weeks before the prom event.
Okay.
And then a week of the prom event, which is 3 days.
Which came first? Them getting into the fight or the prom?
What came first was them coming to the prom, getting into the
Them
prom
getting
that I
into a
was actually doing.
disagreement came first.
Them getting into a disagreement. Your daughter and your daughter's friend.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
You get a good pension. 30 years?
The post office doesn't have the best of pensions.
No?
No, sir.
She's just saying that because the guys are watching, right?
That's right. You don't want them to be motivated by your pension. You want them to want you for you. That's right. Any men that are watching.
Anyway.
It has nothing to do with nothing.
Plaintiff Linda Jake Storball is suing her former friend, who claims she held a prom for her daughter and her friends, and Linda's guests broke out in a fight and destroyed the venue.
Let me get this fight clear. That's
Okay.
what I'm trying to get clear.
Okay,
The young lady, her daughter,
correct.
this is your version. She called you. Can my daughter and her friend come?
She asked can her daughter come into the prom with me. And then a couple of days later, her daughter friend called me. Her daughter called me and said, can my friend come in too?
Daughter said, can I bring my friend?
Friend, she wanted to come in too.
Now, what about the two of them having fallen out? That had already occurred?
It didn't occur until 3 days before the event.
But she called you how many days before?
I'm going to say 2 weeks. before
Called you
the
2 weeks before.
Can they come in?
Then 3 days before, the two of them fell out.
Correct. So the incident was when I called Linda, I'm gonna say I called Linda June the 9th to let her know that everything was set. All of a sudden, Linda stopped me in the conversation, was like, Keisha, the girls had got into it. So at this point, the mother, which I only told her at that time how much money she could bring in, she asked, can she have her money back?
I don't understand what bringing in money. I
Okay.
have no idea what
I'm
you're
sorry.
talking about.
So the other party asked, can she have her money back?
What money?
Okay, the money that the other party had to pay
To get
to
in?
get in. It was $500 for the other party.
Entrance fee.
Correct, to get in. Because at this time, I had all my daughter's stuff together. And Linda, I told her, by me borrowing the money from her, she don't have to pay anything. I was doing this for you for free.
Oh, no, I was talking about the fight. Let me get to the money.
Anyway, May the 17th was the first $1,000 Zelle that I sent to Lakeisha.
I have no idea what the money exchange is for. I have no idea. All I've heard about so far is a fight at a prom.
Okay. On May the 17th, I Zelled Lakeisha $1,000.
Why?
She called me that morning and asked me to borrow $1,000.
Okay. May 17th, she called you and asked if she could borrow $1,000?
Yes, sir.
And you sent it to her by Zelle?
Yes, sir.
All right. When was she to repay it?
On the 20th.
Okay. Now we on somewhere. All right. And then go ahead. What
On
next?
May the 20th, she texted me and said, Linda, don't be mad with me. Could she borrow another $1,000? She was trying to get a vehicle for her business, which I sent her.
On May 20th, another $1,000.
She was going to give me the first $1,000 within 2 weeks, and 2 weeks after that, she was going to give the second.
And what did happen with regard to the repayment?
Absolutely nothing. I got the runaround.
Now, what you wanted to show me some communications as evidence of?
Yes, sir. Page 1 through 7 are text messages that we had.
All right, this is proving what you're saying. Let me allow her to give her defense, and then we'll get into the proofs.
Yes.
Ma'am, you heard her. She said May 17th, she loaned you $1,000. May 20th, another $1,000.
Yeah.
You would agree to pay her within 2 weeks.
Yes, I did. And that is true. Then I'm still a couple of days later, I did ask her, can I borrow another $1,000? At the same time, I said, I'm going to do a party for you for free. Whatever party that you want me to do, I'll do it for you for free. So then she came back and called me and was like, Keisha, you still doing the prom for your daughter? And I told her, yes, I'm doing it June 11th.
Who paid for that?
I paid for everything. I paid
You
the
didn't have
banquet
any
hall.
money.
No, I actually started the beginning of the year. setting everything up for the prom. So I started like in February, paying for the banquet hall, the DJ, the suites.
But when you borrowed money from her, the prom had been 100% paid for.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So go ahead.
So she asked me, was I still doing the prom thing? And I told her yes. And she asked, can her daughter come in? I told her, is this the free prom the free party that you're asking for? And she was like, yes. So I told her, I'll get everything for your daughter. Now at this time I was supposed to pay her the first $1,300, but I took the money out to actually, even though I didn't let her know anything, and she know how I am, she know I'm the type of person that I would never just do her wrong. But I took out the money to get everything that her daughter needed, the throne chair, the tiara, the sweets.
And she agreed to all that?
Yes.
As part of the transaction, as part of the loan?
It wasn't part of the loan. It was just something that
We're talking about the loan.
Okay, so the loan, the situation.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay,
that's
so
what
within the situation of the loan, after the prom, because of the prom setting, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I had to come out of my pocket extra $1,500 due to the fact that her daughter and the other guests had an altercation. The prom started at 7 and it ended at 8 because of them two getting into it. Meaning they destroyed everything within the banquet hall. They broke chairs, the whole guest. So I had 50 guests, she had 50 guests, and the other party had 50 guests. And both parties, 100 people fight. Both parties, Linda party and the other guest party, broke into a fight. Everybody is fighting. It looked like
everybody, not just her daughter.
Not just her. I wish I
would. Oh, wow. Did you take the money off of everybody?
Well,
yeah, everybody did it. Everybody fought.
The other party never came to me and asked about anything. She just left that alone. But I just...
Actually, you owed the other party too?
No.
What did she leave alone? We're talking about the loan.
So the loan, yes. The only reason why I believe that Linda is part of the action is because she kept fighting for the other person to come. Within 30 to 40 minutes within the prom, a fight occurred between Linda party and the other girl party.
That's not correct.
Linda party and the other girl party.
That's not correct.
Destroyed the place. When I say destroyed, they broke chairs, tables. They was throwing chairs to tables. They messed up the DJ equipment. The sweet table that I had up there, everything was just destroyed.
Plaintiff Linda Jakes Storball is suing her former friend, who claims she held a prom for her daughter and her friends, and Linda's guests broke out in a fight and destroyed the venue.
You blaming her because you're saying she knew that she should have known that it would be trouble at the party?
Correct.
Based on the earlier confrontation her and her daughter and her friend had?
Correct. And by them bringing each 50 people, I was saying let's not do that because it doesn't look good. You bringing 50 people and she bringing 50 people, you know something's probably going to happen.
That's what I'm missing. Who brought 50 people?
So Linda was...
Her daughter?
Linda guest was able to bring 50 people to the place, and the other party guest was able to...
Linda's friends guest was able to bring
50 people, and I was bringing 50 of my people.
There was a banquet hall that was supposed to hold 150 people.
Actually, 2.
All right.
Yes, sir.
But you can't take it upon yourself to determine how you going to pay a loan. I don't think I'll pay now that this fight happened.
No,
you have to sue her. You have to sue her. You can't just deduct something that you think is fair for you. That has zero to do. The loan has zero to do with what happens at a party.
Well, that was the situation of why I couldn't pay her any money because the extra money that I had to pay.
Okay, but that had nothing to do with the loan, though. That's what I'm saying. That's not a legal defense.
I'm saying the reason why I believe she owes.
No, why you don't owe her. That's
I didn't ever say
question.
I didn't owe her.
Okay, $2,600 is the judgment. She said she never said she didn't owe you, and that means she does owe you, so I'm gonna grant you your money. I was giving y'all the courtesy of just talking.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Your daughter was the only one that called me and apologized to me about that night stating that my daughter...
You called me and apologized at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I called you.
To apologize
But you never called me and apologized because it was your idea for you to let this lady come.
No, guess what? When you decided,
it was your idea. You know this lady. I don't know this lady. So I was trying to tell you in the beginning I didn't want her to come. My daughter missed out on her prom that her school couldn't even give her. That her mother was trying to give her.
You were being money hungry.
Plaintiff Melissa Adriani signed a 9-month lease with the defendant, but she wanted to move out early, so she found a new tenant to take over the lease. However, she's suing because the defendant never returned her security deposit. Defendant Jasmine Bourbon admits Melissa found a replacement tenant, but says she only agreed to refund Melissa's deposit once the new tenant paid, and she never did. Jasmine's countersuing for rent and bills.
Start with you.
So last year when I was looking for an apartment, I found Jasmine's place and she was open to doing a short-term lease with me. And I had the opportunity to travel at the end of the year. I ended up going to South Africa and volunteering at some orphanages and working with some kids. So she told me if I found somebody to move in that I'd be able to, she'd sign a new lease with somebody.
How long was the lease you had?
The original lease was 9 months. I found somebody new.
When did you sign it again?
June 15th, 2020.
Okay. Go ahead.
I found somebody new to move in, and she approved that tenant. And only after the new tenant had moved in and a new lease was signed, I followed up about my security deposit, and I was told I wasn't going to be getting that back.
Okay.
And after that, I started to question it a little bit more and try to figure out why. And that's when, I had found out that there were some unfortunate circumstances with the new tenant. There was some stolen property and damaged property, which I think.
So you found out. How did you find that out?
Later on, when I started to file for small claims for my security deposit earlier this year. But, I think that's when it started to act a little bit out of emotion because there were a lot of things that happened. Mm-hmm. So then once I realized she wasn't going to be giving me my deposit back, that's when I started to take further action.
All right, let me hear from you.
Starting back in May is when we started discussing a lease. Prior to us signing the lease, I had pointed out the one scary thing in the lease was early termination. Because I had wanted a year lease. She had wanted 6 months. We landed at 9. The reason that I didn't want 6 months is because it landed right in the holidays. It would have been November, December, and I have a new baby. I didn't want to deal with that kind of stuff during the holiday season. So prior to signing, I pointed out that there was an early termination clause. Mm-hmm. From there, she decided to move forward. She signed the lease. She moved in. Then October 1st, I received a text of her stating that she wanted to go to Europe. I thought it was a little bit strange because of the pandemic, but I said, okay.
What was your discussion about the remaining months?
So she said she was going to find someone for a sublease and move forward. So October 21st, 20 days go by. She said she wasn't sure what she was doing because of the pandemic. So October 21st, I reach back out because I'm kind of like, hey, what's going on? Are you going to go? Or you're not going to go? What's going to happen? She still said she wasn't
paying
sure.
her rent though, right?
Yes, she's still paying her rent.
You asked if she was still going to go and what?
And she wasn't sure. So then November 1st, she texts me and says, hey, I've got someone coming. And then November 13th is when the new tenant wanted to move in. The new tenant moved in on the 11th, but it was back and forth. I let her know prior to that new tenant signing or moving in that she wasn't able to pay the security deposit, that she needed some time. And I had allowed the same thing for Melissa when she needed extra time to sign a new lease, 3 or 4 payments, but I told her that her security deposit wouldn't be returned until the new tenant paid her security deposit in full.
You told her that?
Yes, it's in a text.
And she agreed?
Mm-hmm.
You agreed to that? Okay, go ahead.
So then basically what happened, the new tenant moves in and then she doesn't pay any rent.
The new tenant never paid the security deposit?
She never paid the security deposit. She paid 1 month's rent, but it was in increments.
Okay, do you know that the tenant never paid the security deposit?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I let her know prior to that new tenant signing or moving in that she wasn't able to pay the security deposit, that she needed some time, but I told her that her security deposit wouldn't be returned until the new tenant paid her security deposit in full.
You told her that?
Yes, it's in a text.
And she agreed?
Mm-hmm.
You agreed to that? Okay.
Defendant Jasmine Bourbon is being sued by her former tenant, who claims Jasmine failed to return her security deposit. But Jasmine insists the plaintiff broke the lease.
Then what happens after that, ma'am? She
Well,
said,
we didn't have anything specifically in writing saying,
no, you
like,
don't have to have it in writing.
well, I'm just saying like that, you know,
Well, I'm
if she
just saying,
didn't,
verbal agreement is fine.
okay, but if she
Agree to a
didn't
bad
pay,
deal, ma'am.
kind of like if she didn't pay, what would happen? So I had found.
What would happen is you lose out because you made an agreement that was against your interests.
But she told me that I would be getting it back. So I was
all right. I don't know what she told you. I'm just telling you what's happening here legally.
Okay.
And that is you relied on someone else to get your money back. And someone else didn't come through. That person didn't pay her and your payment was based on that person. That was the condition of your payment. But go right ahead. So in November, the replacement tenant moves in and then what?
I kept following up to find out if I was going to be getting it back because there was no sublet agreement signed, so I wasn't liable for any of her payments that she didn't make or not make. So as far as
no sublet agreement with whom? With the landlord, obviously?
Or the tenant, yep.
Okay, or you.
Nothing signed that I would be liable if she didn't pay. So as far as I knew, I was going to be getting my security deposit back, and that's where I stood with it.
And that's the last you all spoke about this?
Yes.
All right. Is that true? It's the last you all talked about it?
So when she asked me about her security deposit on the 13th of December, I replied and I said she hadn't paid rent. Letting her know that the sublet did not pay rent. She didn't pay her security deposit. I was trying to figure out what was going on. So she was notified. She then told me that it was not her sublet, that she was not anything. But prior to this, when the girl, because Melissa had paid the full month's rent of November. So that girl, she wanted that girl to pay her half because they were moving in halfway through the month. And she referenced sublet. She said, do I take the money from the sublet or do you? And I was like, well, no, it would come to me. She's constantly referencing sublet when she thought that the sublet had money. The second that I told her that there was no money and I wasn't getting paid, then the sublet wasn't her problem. She didn't know her. It wasn't an agreement.
Additionally, the so-called sublet was paying her the money to give to you?
Well, she wanted that to happen, and I said, no, that's not.
You never got a dime from the other resident?
Not for a security deposit, no.
No, at all?
I got 1 month's rent.
So, and did that person give that 1 month's rent to her or to you?
To me.
So in action, she was your sublet. Regardless of what was said and her understanding of the technicalities of the law, unless you gave her some law to read, to give her info, just making reference and using the wrong word doesn't make her liable. And when in fact, your actions are what makes you liable. You took the money from the tenant. And so you knew that she wasn't subletting from her. Because when you're subletting from her, she would have given her the money. And she gave it instead to you. So you knew it was your tenant because you took the money.
So originally that was my understanding, which is why when she referenced it, I told her it was an early termination. That in her lease, on page 8 of my evidence, you'll see that there was an early termination clause and a fee associated with that of 2 times the rent, which was $2,400 for early terminating, so not fulfilling.
Who were you
her
terminating?
Lease. She early terminated her lease with me.
But gave you another tenant to replace her.
Another tenant signed a lease.
Which is what the law allows.
Okay.
So she hasn't done anything wrong. She still hasn't done anything wrong. She got you another tenant to replace her tenancy. That tenant pays you, and I don't know what else she should be liable for. The other tenant's rent? No. And why don't you think you owe for the security deposit? And that's the only reason is because the person didn't pay you, so you're not giving her hers. And you say that was an agreement that you all made and she agrees that she made it. But the question becomes, did you ever intend to give the money to her if you never received it from the other tenant?
There was an additional $500 for a pet deposit, and I returned that immediately. Mm-hmm. I had all full intention. Like, if this had gone as planned, I would have absolutely. Like, if the other tenant had paid as promised, I gave her that $500 back immediately.
What's the status of the property now? You have a different tenant or the same tenant?
No, not the same tenant.
You have a different tenant? Did that tenant pay a security deposit?
Yes.
And this one you allowed to go without giving you a security deposit?
Because I had her security deposit and I tried to help Melissa out. She wanted to go. So we made this agreement in. I also have 2 letters in here. The only other 2 tenants that I have had, they fulfilled their lease. They got their security deposits in full back.
Right. And the only reason she isn't getting hers because you said, well, I'll give it to you when the new tenant gives it to me. That's the only reason.
And I was told it was going to happen over 3 pay periods. There was no, well, if she doesn't pay, what happens? And I figured since she's not my sublet, I shouldn't be held responsible for her not paying her security deposit and not paying the rent because
Correct.
and as far as I held up my entire end of the deal, I found somebody, she approved, she moved in. At that point, a new lease is signed and mine's over.
Defendant Jasmine Bourbon is being sued by her former tenant, who claims Jasmine failed to return her security deposit. But Jasmine insists the plaintiff broke the lease.
Counterclaim for unpaid rent and utility bills.
So if it was a sublet, then she would still be responsible for the continuation. So there was damage to the property.
Did the sublet sign anything with you?
Yes.
Dealt with you directly?
Yes.
So she had no more responsibility. She fulfilled her duty, and it was between you and that sublet after that. You can't then say, hey, well, the person that replaced you didn't pay me, so you owe me. No, that's between you and the replacement. Didn't you have to approve the replacement?
So I said early termination. That's
no,
what
I
I was
asked a
claiming.
question. Did you have to approve the replacement that she brought you?
Yes.
And you did approve that person?
Yes.
Okay,
She's
so
good.
you were relying on your good judgment to approve that person as a tenant, to pay you as a tenant. So that relationship was between you and that tenant.
Okay.
Now, the early termination you had waived by allowing her to get another tenant to replace her. She met her legal responsibility thoroughly. I don't see what she breached. You want to hold her responsible for a new tenant, a replacement tenant that you approved of and that you were doing business directly with. You weren't including her in the business after she got you the replacement. You're dealing with the replacement. If you had been dealing with her, and she would have some responsibility perhaps, because you would be saying, hey, your replacement tenant didn't pay me, so you should pay me because I only did this because of you. And then she says, you're right, I'm going to make sure it happens. She injects herself into your business affairs with that other tenant. But she didn't do that. She said, here, I got your replacement. Goodbye. Y'all work it out. Good luck. And termination fee, you approved her move, early move. And when you approved the early move, did she say you owed her a termination fee at that point? That came afterwards. So with regard to your security deposit, I believe that you are certainly entitled to the amount you put down. Treble damages is intended for an intentional breach. I think this is more a misunderstanding than an intentional breach of the contract. So instead of giving you $3,600, I'm going to give you your security deposit back because I don't believe it was malicious. I believe it was a misunderstanding, and therefore $1,200 for you. I'm not granting you anything. Everything else you're asking for is between you and the tenant you accepted. All right, $1,200 is the judgment. Have a good day.
Plaintiff Louis Laura was raised by a single mother and says he barely graduated high school because he was a mischievous kid. Louis was friends with the defendant, but he's suing him because he claims the defendant totaled his electric unicycle. Defendant Joel Soto was friends with the plaintiff for over 10 years, and he insists when he borrowed the unicycle, Louis did not give him the proper instructions on how to ride it, and that's why he crashed.
Start with you.
All right, so I'm Luis Laura. I grew up in a single parent home. My mom was very supportive of me, and she definitely motivated me and tells me to keep going, and she's very supportive of me. As a teenager, I didn't have that father figure in my life, which led me to trying to find it in my older cousins. And that's how I met Joel here.
Okay. Did you take your mother's advice? Did you keep going?
Yes, I actually did. I graduated high school, but barely. Barely. I got to graduate high school, but it was not the best.
Did you keep going?
It wasn't that was a mischievous phase for me.
After that?
And now I'm working. I'm trying to move out.
Move out of what?
I move out of my mom's house.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you get any paperwork for yourself?
Paperwork?
Yes, sir. Certificate?
Nothing. Just a high school. Just a high school.
Trade?
Just a high school diploma, which was barely. I mean.
Okay. Do you think you fulfilled your commitment to your mother?
I have not, and I'm still committing. To my mom.
What's your plan?
My plan is to hopefully put my mom in a home.
No, for yourself. She said you keep going. She told you you keep going.
Yeah,
so I'm asking what you.
And that's what I want to do for my mom is.
I'm talking about for yourself.
I mean, that's for me too at house. I never had a home.
Sir, I think she's talking about you being successful. But let's move on.
Defendant Joel Soto is being sued by his former friend, who claims Joel drove his electric unicycle and crashed it.
What has your friendship been like?
This hasn't been the best.
Okay. All right. Let me hear from you.
Me and Louis probably known each other a little over 10 years. Our families, we have a lot of mutual friends. Our families were close. I remember him having, being the short guy, and myself as well. The reason why we're here today is because, we have a long friendship. We've actually played ball together. I personally, I do photography. I do videography for my cousin's brand. It's called Sip and Listen. It's not just all vibes and good times. It actually stands for Self-Invested People Prosper.
Good.
So Louis, he's attended some of our events. He's been a helping hand. We've played ball together. Same team, opposite team. We've lost together. We've won together. I'd like to say we had a very good friendship.
Good.
So that's
all right. So why are you suing him?
I'm suing him for the damages he caused to my property. Joel used my property and damaged it, totaled it.
What kind of property?
I have an electric unicycle, which is S1000. I used it for my transportation. It's just a one wheel with a seat on it, and it has a handlebar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an electric unicycle. I use it for transportation.
What do you do?
And I work for Amazon delivery driving. So I wanted to, we walk driveways that are very long, and I wanted to use it as an innovative idea where I'm not using my legs to walk driveways and make it easier for customer and myself.
Okay, and what did he do?
And I mean, he destroyed it. He totaled it and told me he was going to pay me.
Okay, sir?
I disagree. I did get on it and I did fall, but from the second the fall happened, he was just like immediately like, oh, my scooter.
He was with you?
Yeah, he was there. Okay. I didn't take it without.
Was he on a scooter too?
Was he on it? No.
A different one or something. Were you riding?
Yeah, I was. I got on the scooter.
If he was with you, was he on the scooter with you?
No.
Was he on something next to you?
It's one wheel. It's not that big.
How was he with you?
Okay, I apologize. So we have a studio. Well, actually, his older cousins, my very close cousins that I call them cousins, but we've been knowing each other since they came from Dominican Republic, and I moved to Boston from New York.
Okay.
So they have a studio. We have some guys that they record. Some guys make beats. Some guys just kind of hang out there. That's the same place that we hold events at that he attended. Some people, they just hang out. This day specifically, he happened to come in with the unicycle. I'm looking at this thing like, it's like a toy. It's like almost like a bike. And I was like, hey, let me get on it. I see one kid, he does like a little circle, gets off. I get on this thing and I have no knowledge on how to ride this thing.
Defendant Joel Soto is being sued by his former friend, who claims Joel drove his electric unicycle and crashed it.
Where's he at when you get on?
He's right next to me.
Okay.
Right next to me. He's like,
Standing?
he's standing right next to me.
I witnessed everything. I witnessed him getting on it, and I mean, he's not being truthful right now.
You weren't next to him?
I was, but he's not being truthful. He didn't even ask permission
what exactly?
to get on it.
I didn't ask you permission.
You didn't ask me permission.
Okay,
you didn't ask me
so
to get on
you told me to
the
get off of
unicycle.
it then when I got on it.
Right.
You told me to get off?
You got on it right after Chris, right? You got out, and then I told you to get up.
So when I asked you, is this a break? What did you say?
Listen. I told you to get up, and I gave you instructions on how to ride it because you got on it beforehand without knowing how to ride it. So I told you to get
ride
up.
it when I get on it?
I told you to get up, and I gave you brief instructions on how to use the electric unicycle.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. Yeah. And I'm not gonna go with it back and forth because I know exactly what I did. I told you. You lean forward.
Go ahead.
So this thing has a handle very similar to a bike.
Which I told him that is
Let him
not.
finish.
Anyways, this thing has a handle very similar to a bike. It has what looks like a brake.
I know what you're talking about.
Right? He gave me these instructions, never told me how to stop. He just said, you lean forward, you go. He said, you're the brake. I'm thinking he's being funny. I'm like, this is the brake right here. Apparently, this is like to calibrate it. I find that he told me this after I fell. This is to calibrate it.
Calibrate the brake?
Calibrate the device. I have no idea.
What was used to stop the device?
My I fell on this. I stopped.
Okay, and
when
so that's normally the way people stop the device?
Yeah, you
know.
So, you got on a vehicle, don't know how to stop it. We don't know how to stop it. You get on a, was it motorized?
As an electric unicycle.
Yeah, you get on an electric vehicle and get on and don't know how to stop it. Who does that?
I don't know.
Raise a hand. Anybody would ever get on a vehicle and not know how to stop it?
Never again.
All right, by definition, that is negligence. You get on an electric vehicle without even knowing how to stop it. And now wants to know, why did I fall? Judgment for the plaintiff. Have a good day. Now that's funny.
Listen to instructions and don't lie, because you know I gave you real instructions before that. I even showed you how to ride it right before that. So
You also didn't mention that you shattered your elbow on this same device.
Right, my elbow, and I paid for my medical bills that you didn't pay for, right?
On the device.
Yeah, right. And it was still perfectly right. And I rolled that.
After you shattered your elbow.
Yeah, and I rolled that, and I
Right.
rolled that right to the
Right.
studio, whatever it is. And you broke it. You
So it
tore
wasn't
and I can't
faulty
use it
before?
anymore.
Because
What's
if I would have shattered my elbow on this thing,
you didn't.
you wouldn't be in my ear talking about you owe me $1,000-something. When I asked you, I was like, hey, I thought this was from a basketball incident. You didn't even mention it. Raoni did. He goes, hey, did
Bro,
you
you're
break
lying.
your elbow
Right now,
on
you're
this thing?
just lying. I'm not even going to entertain your lies.